Hey guys, just thought I'd do a little video here. I'm preparing a new bed. Well, not a new bed, but it's new for this season. We haven't had a crop in here yet. So this is a raised bed, but it's kind of a Hugelkultur, what's known as Hugelkultur, which is just a German word for mound gardening, as far as I know. Essentially, it's basically burying woody matter, like these logs over here, and other kind of branches and sticks and wood chips and such, and letting it break down slowly in the ground. And what happens, you can see this is a piece that's been in there only 6 months, and it's become a sponge. You can see like all this water. This was like a fresh log in November, and this is what we got now. It's just oozing water. That's like incredible. So it was a little too close to the surface, actually. I'm going to put it a little deeper, just so we have, you know, like 6 inches of soil on top of it or something to plant in. And the reason I have the dirt all mounded up like that, that's all sifted topsoil. It's pretty free of debris and whatever. This stuff over here obviously is not. This is just fresh compost that's not even completely finished composting, as you can see. So I wanted to bury that underneath it, so I pulled the good sifted stuff over to the side, putting that underneath. And really the only reason I'm doing that is I don't know, I guess you could say laziness, but I use a seeder through here, like a roll walk behind kind of seeder thing, and it'll put down a seed every 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inches wherever I want it. And it's got different rollers for different size seeds and shapes and things like that. So it works best when you have a pretty clean seed bed to roll it in. It definitely wouldn't go through like all these sticks and branches and such. But this stuff is great because it'll break down just like that log over there, and it'll hold a little bit of moisture itself. So anyway, yeah, I just thought I'd show that. Those other ones got to get buried over there too. This bed that you're looking at behind me here in front is actually all volunteers. Every single thing in there, it's all amaranth, and maybe like 50 or 60 tomato plants that all came back from last year. They're all organic heirloom varieties. I couldn't tell you what varieties they are. They're just like mystery ones now. Whatever we planted from last year, I mean, I could look at the whole list, but like we probably had 7 or 8 varieties, I guess, last year. This year we have some ridiculous amount. I think we have 30 varieties of different types of heirlooms, like everything under the sun you could think of, really. This over here is Russian kale. It's still seeded. I already harvested a ton of it. You can see some of the stalks on the ground there. Next to it is some mustard greens, and then at the end is arugula. We let that all go to seed. The arugula I didn't even really save too much seed from. It's literally grown up all over the place over there. It's kind of gone feral and wild. I hardly use any arugula, honestly, like a little bit in a salad. The birds pretty much spread it every place, so I'm not going to worry about that. But the kale was fantastic, and it's still going. You can see, like, I chopped it down, it comes back. It's incredible stuff. Behind that is a goji berry bush that's kind of getting taken over with some spiderwort at the bottom there. And what else we got in there? Like blackberry. And I see the grapevine is growing into it. The grapes are Thompson seedless grape. I got those many years ago before I had any interest in or knowledge of permaculture or sustainability or seed saving. So if I had to do over, I'd get some other, you know, regular seeded variety. But I've gotten a couple of grapes off it. It always gets spotty on some of the leaves, and I don't know what it is. I've heard it might be black rot. But then what happens is all the grapes turn black and drop. You can see one right here that's turning black. There's the green ones, and there's the spotted one. So those are totally gone. Here's more of them over here. You can see they turn like that brown, and then they'll just completely go black. So yeah, that sucks. What sucks more is actually right here is a kiwi. This is a hardy kiwi. I think this one is Arctic Beauty, maybe. I got it years ago, and only this year have I seen fruit on it. Last year I got 2 little blooms and like 2 fruit, and then they disappeared. This year it was covered in blooms. there were hundreds of kiwi on this thing, and they just all started dropping off. They got the same freaking thing, man. They turned black and dropped off. So I got to figure out some kind of, I guess it's like some kind of a fungal thing. Maybe, you know, I got to look into it more and see if I can, you know, spray it with some kind of, you know, organic treatment, neem oil, I don't know, you know, diatomaceous earth. I use that on some of our other stuff here. But that's the female there, and this is the male kiwi. So that's the guy. This was like a little baby thing. It came back last year from nothing. I thought it was completely dead, and you know, so I was just gonna wait till I didn't actually know if this was a male or female. So I got lucky that it was the fruit bearing, you know, female. And what else is going on? This will eventually be our rainwater catchment system. I'm going to run a gutter from that side of the garage and that side of the garage. Garage is also my craft studio wood shop. So that's, you know, to heat it in the winter. I got a wood burning stove that just goes right through the window. And that's how I'm doing it for now. And then these will feed all these beds and our beds back here in the back. First bed's got snow peas, carrots. There's actually some onions and things in between the carrots, I think. This is lettuce, and as you can see, some of it's actually starting to bolt now, so it's all got to go. We got to start harvesting this and move it all out. These are a couple little baby zucchinis here we just put in. I think we got like 5 of them there. There's another 16 tomatoes. Beyond that is 20 or 30 peppers and like a dozen or so eggplant, and I got another dozen or so eggplant to put next to that. These are some summer squash here in front. They're going like crazy. These beds are also kind of a modified hugelkultur, where I basically dug down like 2 or 3 feet, 2.5 feet, something like that, from ground level. Pulled that dirt aside, filled it in with a huge mountain full of wood and like all kinds of leftover wood from my shop. All the wood that comes out of my shop is untreated. It's all recycled from local trees, so it's not like dimensional lumber or anything like that might be like pressure treated or what have you. And then I went up above the ground like a foot, I think this is, maybe 10 inches. And filled in with more compost. I had a giant mound. That's a compost corner in the back. I mean, that thing, sometimes it gets 8 feet tall. Right now, it's all spread out. It's such a big job that I found it easier to use a rototiller and till through the entire mountain to flatten it out, let it dry out, and you know, kind of air out a little bit. And then I just keep it up back with the pitchfork. What else we got going on here? These are cucumbers right behind the summer squash. Those just went in like a week ago, and they're from seed, so they're doing pretty well. You know, that's from seed to that in a week and a half, or maybe 2 now, I think. These are my Jerusalem artichokes, and they're all flopping over already. I got to do something about that. They're like 6 or 7 feet tall now. Let's see, I'm 6'3", so they're over my head, so figure 6.5 feet or something like that. Doing pretty good. Around the other side, we got some blueberries. They're kind of getting crowded by the artichokes there, the sunchokes, so we'll have to do something there. But you can see plenty of berries on there. They're coming into ripeness now. I just harvested a handful yesterday. Still a little tart, so they need some time. But the squash is like going nuts inside these hugelkultur beds. It really likes this stuff. I mean, it's basically 2 feet thick of compost with maybe 6 inches of topsoil sifted on top. So it's a good growing medium for them. These are let me see, 1, 2, 3 baby blueberries that I put in last year. Here we go. You can see some of the blueberries there. These guys are pretty much ripe. Well, go a little bit more. That's a raspberry that my friend Linda gave me. That just went in a couple of weeks ago, so that's got a long ways to go. And I guess finally, take a look at the worm bin here. I made this from cedar fencing that was recycled like 3 times over. One guy borrowed it from another guy. He used it for fencing. The next guy used it to kind of block his chickens in on his farm. And then he sold his house and gave it all to me. So I used some of it for the worm bin, some for the actual fencing in the back there. All those beds are actually made from that same fencing. I got a bunch of bird houses, bat houses, you name it. It's all out of that. Containers for patios and stuff. So I can show you how this works here. It's a flow-through design, and it's not my design necessarily. I mean, it's, you know, I just came up with this, but that style has been something I found on the internet. I put some windows up in front so you can see these guys working. There they are. They're just like chowing down on everything in there. So what you do, you feed it from up here, and I don't really care if it gets a couple of flies in it now because it's outside. When I had them indoors, it was an issue. So I'm done with kind of indoor stuff, except for maybe like a 5-gallon bucket size. That's fine. But when you have this is 2 foot by 6 foot, so that's a lot of freaking flies to deal with in the basement. I had some wood chips in there. You can see there's absolutely teeming with worms. You just pull some of this back, there's just worms like everywhere. They'll go through. They say the estimate is like a worm could eat its own weight in a day. So if you had a pound of worms, you can process a pound a day. There's probably like 50 or 60 pounds of worms in here now. There's real, like I put 10 to start, and that was a year ago. They're said to double their population every 3 months, you know, as kind of like a guesstimate average. So your guess is as good as mine. But what you do, you feed it from the top. They'll basically stay in the first foot or so, 10 inches or a foot and a half from the top where all the new food is. Everything below, kind of like this level, is just pure worm castings. And down here on the bottom, this is weed whacker line, trimmer line, that I zigzagged across the entire bottom, like every 2 inches. I just have a flush bottom down there of cardboard. Eventually that'll get eaten through, the bacteria, you know, it'll just break through. And the weight of the compost in there itself will kind of keep it mostly in there, and it'll just start to dry out on the bottom and crumble out. Or I can tease it out with like a fork or something like that, you know, like a hand fork. And that's it. So then you don't have to separate the worms out, at least so much. I haven't gotten to harvest it yet, so I'm really hoping it works, because I've done the light method of separating, and that sucks. So I'm done with that. This is a cherry tree over here. It's the first time I ever saw cherries on it. I guess maybe due to the really warm winter we had and early heat that we're getting. And then this guy is a mulberry tree, and it's just teeming with these delicious mulberries. I've been making frozen sorbets out of this with like frozen bananas and mulberries and frozen mango from Trader Joe's or whatever. It's like heaven. I could almost give up chocolate for it. Alright, I think that's the end of the tour for now. Well, let me see. There's a couple more beds over that way. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the back on the side, and then beyond that, from that open porch that you could barely make out to the right, there's 4 more beds that are, I think they're 2 by 20 or something like that, 2 by 15, 2 by 20 each, and that's also full of tomatoes, peppers, more eggplants, all kinds of good stuff. Alright, that's it for now. Thank you very much.